All right, Miss Lacey, I'm going to work through some problems with you here. So just buckle your seatbelt. We're going to work through these. I'm going to work through some examples that are actually on the practice, and I want you to go back and work through this practice again. So here's number one. It says the absolute value of x minus 4 equals 5. So the first thing you need to remember about absolute value equations, there's actually two things. Number one, you need to get this absolute value quantity by itself before you ever really continue. Number two, you're typically going to have two answers because there's two different ways to get absolute value. Let me give you a little example of that real quick. So if I had 0 here and I had negative 2 here, positive 2 there. If I go from here to 0, distance to 0, that's 2. No matter, just because it's negative 2, if I move to 0, I'm going to move 2 units, okay? And the same is true if I go from 2 back to 0. Even though I'm moving in the negative direction, I'm still going a distance of 2. So because we're dealing with distance from 0, there's two different ways to get there. So you're always going to have, typically going to have two answers, and you want to try to get this by itself. All right, so think of this as a variable that I need to isolate. I need to isolate this value here, which means I need to get rid of this negative 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And that is going to give me the absolute value of x equals 9. Now at this point, when I get this absolute value by itself like this, now I can make two equations. One of my equations is going to be exactly what I already have. I'm just going to drop the absolute value bars. So you notice it's exactly the same as this. I just dropped the absolute value bars. The only difference on the second equation is you keep this part the same, still going to be x, but you make this the opposite. Because again, I had an opposite negative 2 here, but I still come up with a positive 2. Positive 2 over here, I still come up with a positive 2. So that's the reason you have two answers. So the two answers for this particular one, this one's pretty easy, is 9 and negative 9. Okay? Number 4. Number 4's got a little bit more added to it, but still not too bad. If you notice, there's nothing over here with this one. So this is already by itself. And I could just as easily switch these around and write this as x minus 2. The absolute value of x minus 2 equals 18. Okay? Because those are commutative, and I've got an equal sign, so I can just flip them around. All right, now that I've got it like this is by itself. I don't have anything with it, so I can go ahead and write my first equation. X minus 2 equals 18. Okay? Now I'm going to write my other equation. It's still the same, x minus 2. The only difference is instead of positive 18, this becomes negative 18. So now I've got two equations I need to solve. So to solve this first one, I'm just going to add 2 to both sides. So I'm going to get x equals 20. And here I'm going to add 2 to both sides. But I've got negative 18 plus 2, which is negative 16. So there would be my two answers, 20 and negative 16. All right, let's look at number 6. So number 6 says 3 times the absolute value of x minus 1 equals 24. So again, the first thing I have to do is I have to get this absolute value quantity by itself. Right now it's not. I'm multiplying it by 3. So the opposite of multiplying a number is to divide that number. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. It's going to leave me with absolute value of x minus 1 equals 24 divided by 3 is 8. Now I can go ahead and write my two equations. So now I can go ahead and do x minus 1 equals 8 and x minus 1 equals negative 8. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and add 1 to both sides. And x is going to equal 9 on this side. And if I add 1 to both sides here, negative 8 plus 1 is going to be negative 7. So x equals negative 7. There's my two answers. Okay. Last but certainly not least, this is probably one of the bigger ones, but it's okay. We can do this. So number 8, again, I need to get this quantity by itself. So let's think about this for just a second. If this problem was, and I'm gonna write it out here. I'm gonna go down just a little bit so you got it down here, and we'll come back. So if I had 2x minus 4 equals 8, what would you tell me to do first? Well, you would, of course, tell me I need to deal with this part first. I need to add 4 to both sides. And then I could do 2x equals 12 and finish that on out, right? So you could tell me I need to deal with this part first. Well, let's look at our problem up here. Just think about this as a value of x. So really I've got like 9x plus 3. Well, that tells me then I need to get rid of this first. Okay, if I need to isolate this, just like I'd isolate a regular variable in an equation, I need to subtract 3 from both sides right here. So just take it a step at a time. Don't let it freak you out. So now I've got 9 times x minus 8, the absolute value of x minus 8. This will go away. And I've got negative 15 minus 3, so negative 18. Now at this point, I still need to get this by itself. Right now it's being multiplied by 9. So I'm going to divide by 9 on both sides. And I'm going to get the absolute value of x minus 8 equals negative 18 divided by 9 is negative 2. And now I just set up my two equations. I'm going to move this work over here now since I used my space. I'm going to have x minus 8 equals negative 2. And you guessed it, I'm going to have x minus 8 equals 2. Just the opposite of what this one was. So now I just solve my two equations and I'm done. Positive 8 on both sides. X equals negative 2 plus 8 is a positive 6. And over here, I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And 8 plus 2 is 10. So there's your answers for 1, 4, 6, and 8. I know you're at least going to get those right, and I believe you're going to get the rest of those right too. Remember that some of those last ones, 10, 11, or 12, you have to select multiple answers. So make sure that if there's two answers, that you select both of those answers. And I know you're going to do really well.